For decades, Thailand held a special place in the travel world. Few countries became as closely associated with affordable adventure, long-term travel, and backpacking culture as Thailand did. For many travelers, it was the destination that made extended travel possible. A modest budget could stretch surprisingly far, allowing visitors to spend weeks or even months exploring beaches, cities, islands, mountains, and cultural landmarks without constantly worrying about money. Entire generations of travelers built their Southeast Asia journeys around this idea. Thailand was not simply affordable, it was often considered one of the best values in global travel. That reputation became one of the country's greatest tourism strengths. Today, however, a growing number of budget travelers are beginning to ask a question that would have seemed unusual years ago. Is Thailand still the budget destination it once was? The question does not appear because Thailand has suddenly become expensive by global standards. Compared to many Western countries, Thailand can still offer excellent value. The question appears because travelers are comparing Thailand to its own reputation. They are comparing today's Thailand to the Thailand that inspired countless travel stories, guidebooks, blogs, documentaries, and backpacking adventures over the past several decades. Increasingly, many budget travelers feel those two versions are not quite the same. Accommodation is often where the difference becomes most noticeable. Travelers arriving with expectations shaped by older travel experiences frequently discover that lodging costs are higher than they anticipated. A room that once represented a small portion of a travel budget may now require far more planning and consideration. The change is not always dramatic on a daily basis. Over the course of a longer trip, however, those differences become increasingly difficult to ignore. Budget travelers tend to calculate expenses differently from other visitors. They are not simply evaluating whether a destination is affordable. They are evaluating how long they can stay. A small increase in daily spending may seem insignificant during a short vacation. For someone traveling for several weeks or several months, that same increase can completely reshape an itinerary. This is where Thailand's changing reputation becomes most visible. Many travelers still love the country. Many still consider it one of the world's great destinations. Yet some no longer view it as the obvious budget choice it once appeared to be. Part of the challenge is that expectations remain rooted in an earlier era of travel. Stories about incredibly low costs continue circulating online long after conditions have changed. New travelers arrive expecting one reality and encounter another. The gap between expectation and experience often creates the feeling that Thailand has become dramatically more expensive. In truth, the situation is more gradual than that. Thailand's tourism industry has evolved. The country attracts more visitors, offers more services, and supports a far more sophisticated tourism economy than it did decades ago. Those developments have brought many benefits. They have also influenced the costs that travelers encounter. As destinations become more successful, maintaining the same level of affordability becomes increasingly difficult. Demand grows, investment grows, and expectations grow alongside them. Thailand's tourism success has created opportunities that many destinations would gladly welcome. At the same time, success changes the economics of travel. Places that once catered primarily to budget-conscious visitors increasingly serve a broader range of travelers with very different spending habits. The market expands. The destination evolves. The traveler experience changes with it. Budget travelers often notice this shift before anyone else because affordability sits at the center of every decision they make. Every accommodation choice, every extension of a trip, and every future destination depends on careful budgeting. Small changes that other travelers barely notice become highly visible. This creates an interesting contrast. Thailand may still feel affordable to many visitors, yet the same destination may feel significantly less affordable to someone attempting to travel for extended periods on a limited budget. Both experiences can be true at the same time. This helps explain why conversations about Thailand's costs often produce such different opinions. People are measuring affordability through completely different lenses. A 2-week holiday and a 3-month backpacking journey operate under very different financial realities. The longer the trip, the more sensitive travelers become to rising costs. And this is where many budget travelers begin reconsidering Thailand's place within their plans. The question is no longer whether Thailand offers good experiences. Few people seriously debate that. The question increasingly becomes whether those experiences justify a larger share of a limited travel budget. For travelers planning extended journeys across Asia, every decision involves trade-offs. More money spent in one destination often means less time spent somewhere else. A higher accommodation budget may reduce the length of an entire trip. The calculations become increasingly important as travel durations grow longer. Thailand's challenge is that it built its global reputation on making those calculations easy. For years, travelers rarely felt forced to choose between experiencing Thailand and preserving their budgets. The country often seemed to offer both simultaneously. That perception became part of the Thailand travel story. Today, some travelers feel that balance has shifted, not disappeared, shifted. The distinction matters because Thailand remains enormously popular. Millions of visitors continue arriving every year. The country is clearly not struggling to attract tourists. What appears to be changing is the relationship between Thailand and the travelers who once viewed it as the automatic choice for affordable long-term travel. Many budget travelers now approach Thailand differently than they did in the past. Some shorten their stays. Some plan more carefully. Some allocate larger budgets than they originally expected. Others begin comparing Thailand against alternative destinations through a lens they rarely used before. Not because Thailand has lost its appeal, but because affordability was once its strongest advantage. When that advantage feels less certain, decision-making changes. This shift may be the most important part of the story. Budget travelers are not necessarily abandoning Thailand altogether. They are reassessing it. The destination that once required very little financial consideration now requires more planning, more comparison, and more budgeting than it did before. For many travelers, Thailand remains worth every dollar. For others, particularly those trying to maximize the length of a journey, the calculation becomes increasingly difficult. That calculation influences where people stay, how long they stay, and whether they return. Over time, enough individual decisions begin creating a larger trend. A destination famous for affordability slowly becomes known for something slightly different. Not luxury, not exclusivity. Simply a different balance between cost and value than travelers once expected. And that may explain why conversations about Thailand's future have become so common among budget travelers. The country has not stopped being remarkable. The beaches remain beautiful, the food remains exceptional, the culture remains one of the great attractions of Southeast Asia. What is changing is the role affordability plays in the travel experience. For decades, affordability helped define Thailand's tourism identity. Now that identity is evolving. And as it evolves, many budget travelers are finding themselves asking a question that previous generations rarely considered. Not whether Thailand is worth visiting, but whether it still fits the kind of travel budget that made it famous in the first place.